What's up, everybody? Mr. Murray here, Mr. Murray's Mathland. Today we're doing a short video, 2 examples on dividing polynomials by using long division. You may notice the setup I've already got here on the screen. So that's long division, just like you did probably in second or third grade for the first time, and using that kind of process. I know there's other techniques using the box methods and this and that, but this is using that specific method, which if you're familiar with dividing numbers that way, then you know the name of the game is DMS. Divide, multiply, subtract. That's the little process here. You just repeat as many times as necessary, and if you're not sure what I mean by that, let's just jump into it and do it right here. Okay, so when you have something like this, you're focused on taking this lead term. Of course, you want to make sure everything is in descending order. Everything's in kind of standard form. So if you do that, you're dividing this lead term into this lead term. That's how you begin here. And so if you can do that mentally, that's really what you want to do. If not, off to the side, sometimes I'll see kids in their work, write 12x to the 5th divided by 2x squared. For anyone algebra 2 or beyond, this should be a pretty easy thing to say. That's 6x to the 3rd, right? Subtracting exponents. Okay, so that's what goes up top here, 6x cubed. That's the division step of the DMS process. And now we're going to multiply that, what we put up here, times this entire divisor here. That's what that's called, the divisor out here. This is the dividend, and what comes out at the top is the result, or the quotient. So now we're going to multiply that. So 6x cubed times 2x squared, that is 12x to the 5th. And if you've done that first step correctly, those two should be exactly the same. But now 6x cubed times negative x, that will be negative 6x to the 4th. And then finally 6x cubed times positive 3, that will be 18x cubed. And you write those terms right underneath the like terms here, and it all lines up pretty nicely. And now that's the multiply step, and now subtract. So when we subtract, though, here is one of the things to just be a little careful with. You are subtracting this entire polynomial you just obtained from those like terms above them. So just be careful here. Now these two terms should cancel out. 12x to the 5th minus 12x to the 5th is 0, so don't bother writing anything there. Now just be careful right here. 14x to the 4th minus negative 6x to the 4th. That's really going to distribute that negative, right? And the minus negative is really a plus. So what you get here is 20x to the 4th. And this is a matter of personal preference. I've even done it different ways throughout my career. Some people leave the negative kind of out here in their work with the parentheses, and some people actually just take the negative and distribute it, make that a plus, make that a negative, and that way they can just combine what's there. So you do what works for you, a little trial and error. But then, here at the end, 16x cubed minus 18x cubed, that's going to give you negative 2x cubed. Okay, so there's the subtraction step of DMS, and now you bring down the next term in line, similar to what you do when you're using long division for numbers. That's plus 24x squared. And now you repeat that process, DMS. Divide that lead term of your divisor into the lead term here. And we're going to write that term up top where the quotient goes. So 20x to the 4th divided by 2x squared. 20 divided by 2 is 10. X to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared. And now we just repeat the process. Divide, now multiply. Again, 10x squared times that entire divisor out in front. 20x to the 4th. 10x squared times negative x will give you negative 10x to the 3rd. 10x squared times positive 3 is positive 30x squared. There's the multiplication. And now we subtract. And so those 20x to the 4th will cancel each other out. Watch out for this negative 2x cubed minus negative 10x cubed. That's going to make plus 10x cubed, so that will be plus 8x cubed, positive 8x cubed. And here, 24x squared minus 30x squared will give you minus 6x squared. Bring down what's next in line. That would be minus 2x, and just keep repeating the process. Here we go. So 2x squared, that lead term of the divisor, 2x squared into 8x cubed. That's going to give you positive 4x to the first, and now multiply that times the divisor. So 4x times 2x squared is 8x cubed. 4x times negative x is negative 4x squared. 4x times positive 3 is plus 12x. And now subtract. So subtract that polynomial you just got. So the 8x cubes cancel each other out. Negative 6x squared minus negative 4 will be plus 4x squared, so that will give you negative 2x squared. Negative 2x minus 12x will give you minus 14x here. And finally, bring down what's last in line there, which would be positive 5. And this looks like we got one more step to do here. 2x squared goes into negative 2x squared. Negative 1. And then multiply back through. Just finish it all off. Negative 1 times 2x squared is negative 2x squared. Negative 1 times negative x is positive x. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. And then one more subtraction step. And it's funny, after years and years of grading tests with divisions and long divisions like this, you can see there's a lot of potential for careless mistakes. I find for whatever reason, students tend to make the careless mistake in the last subtraction step. You know, maybe they're so excited to almost be done with the problem. So just follow it through all the way to the end. Those negative 2x squareds cancel out, right? Negative 14x minus x will give you negative 15x. And finally there in the end, 5 minus negative 3 is 5 plus 3. So that's going to give you positive 8. And now just the final step is to express your final answer here. And we do this with as the quotient, which would be 6x cubed plus 10x squared. So that's everything we got up top there, plus 4x minus 1, and now plus whatever leftovers or your remainder, as we call it, this right here, negative 15x plus 8, that's the remainder. And by the way, you know you're not repeating that division, the DMS step, because that's negative 15x in your remainder, and that's a smaller degree than your divisor of 2x squared. So that's how you know you're pretty much done. So plus your remainder, negative 15x plus 8, over your divisor. And what we were dividing by was 2x squared minus x plus 3. And that's just like any other mixed number. When you divide something by 3, you're left with however many thirds at the end. So just remainder over divisor, and there you go. That's that one example. Pretty much shows you the pattern, and you just repeat it over and over again. But let's just try one more just to get the hang of it. Feel free to pause it and try it on your own. But sometimes it's presented this way here. And so I'm going to set up that long division. But just remember what I said. You want things to be in order, in standard form, in that descending order, highest degree first. Oops. And just notice this one thing here. I do have that descending order, but if you'll notice, it goes x to the 5th and then goes down to x to the 3rd. There's no x to the 4th term. So when this kind of thing happens, you'll want to use 0 placeholders. So 4x to the 5th is what I'm dividing into, my dividend, and there's no x to the 4th. So I'm actually going to put 0x to the 4th, and it just helps line up your terms as you're going through this process. Minus 38x cubed plus 9x squared. And if you'll notice, then the dividend goes to negative 40, so it goes from x squared to constant. So I need another 0 placeholder for 0x, and finally minus 40. And finally, you might also be noticing that because your divisor is 1x to the first, you could use synthetic division on this. And I'm actually getting into that in my next video, synthetic division. But synthetic division can't be used for every problem, but long division can be. So I'm doing 2 examples on long division first. But yes, synthetic division is very nice. If you remember that, very good. Good for you. So now here we go. I'm dividing x into 4x to the 5th, and I'm going to get 4x to the 4th. Now multiply that times your divisor out in front here. That's going to give you 4x to the 5th minus 12x to the 4th. And you see how those x to the 4th just nicely lined up? And now I'm going to subtract. Subtract, the 4x to the 5th cancel out. 0x minus negative 12x to the 4th goes plus 12x to the 4th. Bring down what's next in line. That's negative 38x cubed. And I've intentionally made kind of a long problem here to practice the whole procedure and to show you a couple of 0 placeholders, but it does get a little bit repetitive, I'll admit that. So now we're dividing x into 12x to the 4th, so that will be 12x to the 3rd. And now you multiply back through times your divisor, so that's 12x to the 4th minus 36x cubed. And now you subtract. Those 12x to the 4ths cancel each other out. Negative 38x cubed minus negative 36, so that's plus 36. That will give you negative 2x cubed. Bring down what's next in line. You see how things just line up nicely. And now we're dividing x into negative 2x cubed, so that will be negative 2x squared. And now multiply back through. Negative 2x cubed. Negative 2x squared times negative 3 is positive 6x squared. And now subtract. DMS, divide, multiply, subtract, and just watch for careless mistakes with the distributing of the negatives and things with exponents. There's just a lot of little places to make mistakes. 9x squared minus 6x squared, that's going to give you 3x squared. Bring down what's next in line, which is a 0x, and again, it's nothing, but it's helping to line up your like terms here. And now 3x squared divided by x from the x minus 3, so that would be plus 3x. And now multiply back through. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times negative 3 is negative 9x. And subtract. 3x squareds cancel out. 0 minus negative 9 minus negative 9 is plus 9, so that will give you positive 9x. Bring down what's next in line, and this should be the last division step here. So x goes into 9x, so 9x divided by x is 9. Multiply back through, 9x, 9 times negative 3, negative 27, and just let's follow it through to the end. No careless mistakes here. So subtract, those 9x's cancel out. Negative 40 minus negative 27, so that's plus 27, leaves you with a remainder of negative 13. So our remainder is negative 13. Sometimes people will take a little bit of a lazy way to write your final answer and just kind of tack it on to here on the top, plus negative 13 over your divisor of x minus 3. And it should be noted, of course, that, you know, instead of writing plus negative 13, you could have just written minus 13 over x minus 3. But I would just caution you, be careful with that because, for example, on this problem, that started with a negative, but there were 2 terms to it. So you wouldn't want to just throw a negative out in front there because then you'd have to factor that negative out of the positive 8 also. So you'd have to write negative 15x minus 8. And, you know, why bother? Just write plus the remainder over the divisor and you're good to go. So hopefully this made some sense here and you feel good. It's just can be a little tedious, but nothing you can't handle if you've gone through Algebra 1, to be honest. Okay, good luck. Let me know if you got any questions and keep working hard.